What is the Department of Basic Education's position on the Hoerskool Overvaal admission issue? Are some schools using language policy to discriminate against black learners? And do school governing bodies abide by their obligation to promote non-racialism and equality at schools? What can be done to help provinces cope with the ever-increasing numbers of new school entrants? What time is it? It's question time. Khotsong Kurula Mraro, my name is Mpotse. Reports on the first day of schooling yesterday indicated that parents in Mpumalanga, Gauteng and Limpopo were still searching for places for their children, particularly in urban schools. The number of learners still waiting for places in Gauteng alone was standing at 28,000. Violence and chaos continue to hit Hoerskool Overvaal in Vereeniging. This follows the ruling by the High Court in Pretoria that set aside Gauteng Education Department's bid to pursue the Afrikaans-medium school to admit 55 English-speaking learners. Advocate Albert Lamey for the school said in court, and I quote, "You cannot expect the school against its language policy to admit English learners in a school whose medium is Afrikaans." Close quote. Gauteng Education MEC, though Panyaza Lesufi, has always maintained that the issue had nothing to do with space or capacity, but everything to do with the school's Afrikaans language policy. Lesufi has indicated that his department will be appealing the High Court ruling. We are live, and therefore you can call us. The number to dial is 089-110-4210, internationally +27 89-110-4210. Our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. And we remind you that you can also live stream us, our Facebook page, SABC News Online, and our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/SABC Digital News. My guest today, Matakanya, is the Secretary General of the National Association of School Governing Bodies. Troy Martin speaks on behalf of the Department of Basic Education. Now, I welcome you.
Welcome.
Good evening,
Well, let's start with you as a department. What is your reaction? I saw earlier today from the same school in question, it is reported that there's now a call for the Boer to come and defend the school. And indeed, I saw a couple of Afrikaner men already that started gathering there. I don't know what happened later in their khakis and all that.
You know, this matter it's quite disturbing to see this type of activity happening outside of a school. Obviously, as the Department of Basic Education, we condemn the violence in the strongest possible terms. There is a court ruling that has been made, and the department in Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, the MEC, has said that they are going to appeal that, and the minister, who I represent here, has said that she will join that appeal as well. So we are going to go back to court. We are going to fight this the right way, and for that reason, we really urge people who are really jumping the gun here to calm down. We need to let these tensions subside and do what is in the best interest of these children. You know, these are children at the end of the day, and they're now being exposed to violence outside of their school, which is completely unnecessary, and we don't want our learners to learn that this is how you deal with challenges. We don't deal with challenges through violence.
Now, who decided that that school is an Afrikaans or strictly Afrikaans school?
So the policy of a school, the policy according to the South African Schools Act is that the school governing body will determine the language policy of a school. So it would be parents who attend the school who would then, through a school governing body meeting, determine what the language policy is. And that can change. For example, some school governing bodies now that have been your former Model C schools, your Quintile 3 and 4 schools that were predominantly, for example, English schools, they would do the first additional language would be Afrikaans. A lot of those schools now are being proactive in introducing an African language as the first additional language option. So it is really up to the parents of that school to decide what languages they want taught.
Wow, we've got the SGB here now. When you have a situation like the one that is playing out in Vereeniging, where are you as the national school governing body?
We are here. We are here. Firstly, just to sketch the scenario is that it is democracy at work now, as you look at it. Because the school governing body has the right to formulate a policy, but it says may, and then depending on the provincial and the national laws. And the unfortunate part is that whilst democracy is at work, then our children are the victims. And that's where it is very, very unfortunate. Then we, as National Association of School Governing Bodies, we really, in all the platform, talked to our members, because the school governing bodies there is our member. Yeah. And then it's a member, probably you'll understand that we have got minds of different minds, as like the radio Buputatswana, you know. So you'll find that now we don't all conform to what really South Africa should look like. And I think I just also want to support the department that really and truly, when democracy is its work, I think we have to support it and avoid violence.
What do you mean democracy is at work? Is it democracy when black kids are barred from attending a school?
Hence I said it is really unfortunate. But you see, the school governing body has the right to formulate policy. It says the law, South African school laws say may, you understand? And hence, now the department also has the right and to determine capacity.
And the policy is formulated in Tatamatakanya, excuse me, the policy is formulated by the current school governing body, right? Or the school governing body that that is in existence prior to other parents coming in. So which means that for as long as my parents are not allowed, or I'm not allowed into that school, chances of my parents being on that school governing body are nil, and therefore there's going to be a perpetuation of exclusion.
Hence we are calling upon parents to be involved in the education of their children.
But they don't have kids in that school.
No, hence, no, I mean the very same children who goes to the school. Yeah. But now, maybe then there are two things here. What we expect is that now the school governing bodies formulate policy. But when you bring the child, like for instance, you see, as much as we condemn violence, but you see parents are up in arms and they want their children to be admitted in that school.
Yes.
And it is accepted, because there is no more African school, English school, Zulu schools. All these schools are public schools. So we are allowed to go into any school, provided, well, there is spaces. But last time when I talked to some of the platform, I said the least they could have done was to ask the department to give them at least 2 mobile classes to accept those children. So it's
what are you saying? That black kids must go into the mobile class?
No, I'm just saying if there are no classes. Isn't that the argument? Is that
but why should it be black kids who go into the mobile classes?
Well, they are admitted this year probably. So then if then there is no space, if it is practical that there is no space, but we want the children to go into the school, the least we can do is to, whilst we are preparing the space for those children, but they must continue learning in the so the practicality is that if there is no space, then there is nothing that you can do except to show that now there is no sign of racism, where you say we don't want black children, we want children only.
I'm going to take you on. Peter, you are in Kwakwa.
Yes, Ntate.
Ndade.
Yes, Ntate. Can I go on?
Yes, go ahead.
No, Ntate. I'm talking as now the ex-principal. Ne?
Okay.
Yes, Ntate. The main problem of South African government to formulate now the constitution of the country, they are not reviewing the constitution now and then. Because according now to the policy, as far as now the school is concerned, ne?
Yes.
The governing body is having the right, during the presence of the parents, ne, to formulate the medium of instruction of that school. And then thereafter, they have now to convene the meeting of different of the parents of that particular children, ne, and ask them of whether they are satisfied about now the decision they have proposed. Ne. According to now, let me finish that. According to me,
yes,
what the department have to do now? They have done the blunder. Let them go and revisit the constitution, because according to the constitution, each and every child, regardless of the color, regardless of the place, they do have the right to learn. This side, on the left-hand side, the governing body have the right. That it means that now the court stick now to the point that now the governing body is having the right. The governing body really reach their own conclusion, being informed by the constitution of the country. It means it is important. Now, what I want now to ask the question directly to now the chairperson. As you see that now there is a confusion between the two policies. What steps are you prepared to take? Because you are aware that now the blunder is not from your governing body. It is from the government. I want to be fair. What are you going to do to review what had been the damage which have been made by the government? Because the court does not having any fault.
Dr. Peter, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your call. But I want, whilst I'm allowing you to respond, Troy, Section 29 of the Constitution, which deals with education, Section 2 says, everyone has the right to receive education in the official language or languages of their choice in public educational institution, where that education is reasonably practicable.
Okay, so now let me clarify a few things. The language policy is determined by the school governing body, but it doesn't say that admissions of the school can be determined based on language. You can't not admit a child based on language, and I think this is why it's important for us to go back to court so that we can clarify some of these things.
Then it means you have given them too much powers.
No, if you hear what I'm saying, it's about admissions. Admissions is not regarding language.
Yes.
It doesn't say anything about language when it comes to admissions.
Okay.
The admission policy.
Right.
So if we want school governing bodies to be democratic and to really determine that language policy based on the children that are admitted into the school, we need the admissions to be representative of the community that surrounds the school. So that's really what we're saying. We're saying that, yes, the school governing body has a right to determine the language policy, but they need to admit learners not based on language.
Okay.
So I think that's really the test now that we need to take back to court and really thrash this out, because I think that's really what MEC Lesufi was trying to say.
Now, why are you not joining the government in this case?
We have joined the government.
Are you a friend of the court in this matter?
No, we are not the friend of the court, but we are, you see, as National Association of School Government, we are trying our level best to resolve the challenges that are facing education outside the court.
Now, in this case, what have you done? We
are engaging with all the structures that, as you could see, it's just that they did not, you could see our flag there, they are on the ground.
Yeah, but the people who are using your flag there are the ones who are saying you are not coming in.
No, we are talking to them to say, let's engage the management. let's engage our people. And the management that we are talking about are our people. And I earlier on indicated that.
Yes, they are your members.
Yes, they are our members, you know. So we have to engage them and say, at all costs, let's avoid courts. I mean, courts will... in
this case, you are late. The matter is in court.
We still can win it. Rather than to go to appeal court, to go to the constitutional court and all those things, waste all those monies and all those things. Those monies could be used in... So, still we can withdraw. If then they agree.
Things you were supposed to have told your members.
Of course, we have been talking. It's just that we did not be given platform like now you are giving platform, because now I believe because the matter is of national importance, that's hence you give. But we have been in negotiations with them. So, you know, courts will not solve our problems in education. We have to solve our problems outside the courts.
Okay. Mpho, you are in Springs.
Hi, Mpho. Listen, I just want to be on the poorer side of the fence. I want to be a devil's advocate, so to speak. The issue is not really about white and black. It's about language. So let's say it wasn't Afrikaans. Let's say it was Pedi. Because in townships you have a Pedi-speaking school, and you cannot take a Zulu child to that school. You know, you have a Sotho-speaking.
Okay. How are we going to resolve this? Indeed. And you see, what worries me is that it is always black Africans who are fighting to get into these other schools. We're not seeing, you know, white Afrikaners saying we need to be admitted in Shawero.
You know, Mpho, I just want to respond to other Mpho's question on the language. And, you know, I actually agree with him in many respects, because it would be ideal if we could have Zulu schools and Sotho schools and Setswana schools. But the problem with that is, like the Constitution says, what is practicable? Now, maybe it would be practical in places like KwaZulu-Natal, where the majority of the people there speak isiZulu, or in the Eastern Cape, or even in some parts of the Western Cape, and so on and so forth. But in a place like Gauteng, that would be very difficult, because you have one school with learners of multiple different backgrounds and languages. So it becomes very difficult to be able to offer mother tongue education in that respect. Ideally, we would love to, but at this stage, it's not really practical. So this is why we have to really work around that. And this is why a lot of the schools now have chosen English to be the language of instruction.
Okay, let's go to Vereeniging. Is it Mukwena?
Yes, Ndadi.
Ndadi.
Likanda Mpho.
Everything Likanda Dwaga.
Rehona man. Ndadi Mpho, I wanted to ask a question to the lady who's representing the Department of Education.
Her name is Troy.
Yes. My question is actually, these 50 learners, because normally they said how they must apply online. Now, what happened? Didn't the parents of those learners applied online? Then what was the response from the Department of Education?
Just run that question again. I'm battling to hear it.
I'm saying Gauteng, Department of Education, has said the parents must apply online.
Yes.
Now, what happened with those children? Didn't they apply online? If so, then what happened with the application? Were they admitted to the school, or what happened?
Okay. I'm sure did you hear the question?
Yes, I did. Okay, so I think all the provinces have their own admission systems, and Gauteng have the online system. And they do have, like you mentioned in your intro, Mpho, a lot of learners that are still awaiting places. I did speak to Gauteng this afternoon, and one of the challenges that they've had with the online system is what they call the pressure schools.
Yes.
So where you have multiple applications. So say a school can only take 500 or so learners, and you've got 2,000 applications to that school. Yes. So that's really where they're having the challenges. And a lot of the parents that have still not had their learners placed, I'm told, are those who didn't accept the second school offer. So that's really what's happening. But I am informed that the number of placements is going down every single day, and that districts are working flat out to find spaces, and Gauteng have given us assurances that they're confident that they will find spaces for all of those learners.
What case is this for the department? Is it is it a racism issue? Is it an administration issue?
Which the Overvaal case?
Yes.
You know, I think it's multi-pronged, and I think this is why it's created such tension. I think it does have clearly an element of race in it, but it's also a language issue, and it's also an administration and policy issue. And I think this is why it's so important to go through these court processes so that we can get clarity on where we stand. And
he thinks the courts are not going to help.
I think it's very important for us to go through the court processes so that we can really get clarity. You know, sometimes the courts help us out in an instance where there are disputes or disagreements like this, to really lay the ground and clear the air so that we have a final decision. Because if we mediate, for example, in this case, and don't come to or if we do come to an amicable conclusion and they admit the 55 learners here, there's going to be a case somewhere else in another school where they refuse to. So we really do need clarity of policy in this area, because this isn't the first time we've had instances like this. There have been cases in other schools, you know, maybe that just haven't been as widely covered in the media. There's been cases in the Northwest as well, cases in the Free State, all with similar types of issues or challenges.
Do you admit that some of your members are abusing these privileges that they have, or rights on paper?
Well, I would not say they abuse. I would rather say it is historic. You see, these schools are created by history, and
but
the current law is attempting to bring all those schools that were created by history into one. You understand? So that's the struggle that we find ourselves in. And at times we quickly forget that we are just 24 years old from apartheid, where there was separate development. I think this government is really trying hard to bring back, and don't forget, 24 years is not that long. There are still people who still feel that, yes, of course, they are superior than others, so they cannot mingle, they cannot mix with other people, and it plays out like this, and it's unfortunate that the victims are our children. You understand?
So what are you going to do with your flag, which is being abused there?
No, the flag is not being abused. Those people are on the ground to ensure that the situation is properly controlled, and if it's possible, then we continuously engage. Because, as I said earlier on, I don't think really the court will say, look, for instance, then the department and our members went to the High Court in Pretoria. The school won. The department is appealing. They are going to Bloemfontein. I don't know whether the school will still win. And then they will be going to the Constitutional Court.
Yes. Then
the department, of course, is... This case is not the first one. You remember the Rivonia case? The Rivonia case went the same way. And this is the same way that is going to go. And finally, the department is going to win at the Constitutional Court. So you see...
Do you support the department?
For transformation? Of course. We do support the department.
Okay.
Yeah, we do support the department. Right. I mean, we are National Association for School Government is for transformation. We want to transform. We want one South Africa. We don't want 10 South Africa. We want one South Africa.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks very much. We have run out of time. That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, you have yourself a wonderful time. I'm Khot.
Take an in-depth look of all your stories of the day across the world. Stay tuned to Primetime News every day from 18 hours.
Sports Live, Saturday and Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Africans are increasingly using digital platforms for life, work and play.
Information is key for us. We live in an information age. We live in the digital age.
I'm mostly on WhatsApp because not all my friends have iPhones, so they don't have FaceTime.
On Network, we tell you about Africa's technology and social media landscape. And some here are using the internet to raise political concerns.
Some of the exposés on political issues come from what we call your diasporic online media.
Africans are also using technology to create. For African technology and social media news, join me, Mpumalanga, on Network every